Greetings. I am Cleve, real estate broker and native San Diegan, getting you up to speed with what is happening in real estate this week. The biggest thing that's been happening in real estate, a little bit more than just this week, has been the drop in mortgage rates. They have been pretty sticky at over 7%, which has been kind of a psychological barrier for a lot of the buyers. We've seen reduced demand. But now they're kind of breaking down below 6.5%. Uh, that was big enough news in itself. We anticipated that rate cut once the economy started slowing, and that's where we ended up. But then we had news coming out that the economy is actually a lot slower than we were told. Now, I don't know that that's really a surprise to anybody. I think it was pretty well known that the jobs report was inflated, but it was inflated by quite a bit. And so what we're looking at now is, are rates going to move even further down, with the Fed maybe making a bigger move or a series of moves. Right now, the latest projections by the Mortgage Bankers Association is really pretty flat, about 6.5% through Q1 2025, so through the end of this year and into January, February, March, and then starting to slide down below 6% towards the end of January, or towards the end of 2025. So we'll see if that holds true. What that means for us in San Diego is a little bit of an increase in demand. We've had inventory increase 71% year over year, July 24 to 23. That still puts us about 36% below what the historic norms are, as measured by the 3-year pre-COVID average. So right now we've seen a slight uptick in demand, which is out of season. So demand usually peaks in spring. Here we are in the middle of summer, getting into later summer, where we have inventory historically peaking and starting to decline, which it looks like it's doing usually towards the end of July to August, somewhere around there is the normal time for inventory to peak. But we did get a measurement of an increase in demand, not typical for this time of year. So if these rates stay down, we're going to see that demand increase a little bit and start to cut into the supply, that nice little bit of extra inventory that we've had build up. So we'll look and see how that continues. The other big thing that's really happened in the last week and a half, August 17th, the National Association of Realtor settlement from the Stitzer-Burnett case, the changes went into effect. And the two biggest changes were on the seller side. As listing agents, we are no longer allowed to publish a compensation offered to a buyer's agent in the MLS. It can still be offered. It can be put on an individual. I could put it on my personal website, saying a seller is going to offer 2.5%, 2%, 3% to anyone that is working with a buyer. So it's just in the MLS. So that is one of the big changes. Again, it doesn't prevent the seller from paying compensation for the buyer or for the buyer's agent. The other side of that is, which I think is actually a good thing, and that is that the buyer and the buyer's agent must have a written agreement prior to even looking at properties, by the way. And I think that's actually going to improve the communication, improve the expectations, improve the working relationship between the buyer and their agent. So I really think that's going to be a good thing industry-wide. Also, I think it's going to kind of cull the herd with the number of agents that are working. So I think you're going to see a, a better level of professionalism in the industry. So that those written agreements are going to be mandatory. Some people have used them, some people haven't, but the agreement is going to need to specify what the compensation is that the agent will be receiving. That can be a percentage, that can be a flat fee. It is completely negotiable between the buyer and their agent. Again, it can be paid by the seller if the seller agrees. And the important note, the important caveat to that is that the agent cannot receive compensation in excess of what is agreed to between the agent and the buyer in that written agreement. It can be lower though. So I'm of the opinion that it's going to be pretty much business as usual. For all the inefficiencies that we have in real estate, it's actually, it works pretty well. It makes a lot of sense when you start to break it down and look at where you can increase efficiency. With what we're working with, it's actually pretty efficient. And so I'd put a listing on right around, I think it was on the 18th that I put it on. No, I put it on the 16th, right before the NAR rule changes went into effect. And it was pretty much business as usual. I did have one agent that reached out because we can communicate outside of the MLS, and she did ask me what the seller would be willing to pay if the seller was offering compensation. And to back up, I had this discussion with the seller prior to us going on the market that these, number one, these rule changes were happening, and we didn't really know how it was going to go, and that we're going to have an agreement between us, and I prepped them for this is what we can expect from the market, and I prepped them that we will probably see agents, the offers coming in from buyers with the request that the seller covers the compensation for the buyer. Wasn't sure for sure if that was going to happen, but that's what I anticipated. And so we were ready with that. We looked at the numbers, looked at how it was going to net out. It was it was a very favorable situation. We ended up getting multiple offers. We had, I think, 10 showings over 3 days with 8 offers coming. Great ratio. And normally I like to see as a baseline at least 1 offer for every 10 showings. This was like hitting it out of the ballpark. But the relevant part to this rule change is that only 1 person even contacted me before showing to see if the seller was going to pay compensation, and also that the offers came in as normal. Almost every one of them had written in that the seller covers the compensation for their agent, for the buyer's agent, and so it was really just business as usual. And I expect that to continue for the most part. There's always going to be outliers. There's going to be properties that are going to have, we know they're going to have a ton of attention, and there's going to be more negotiating leverage for the seller in those situations. There's going to be other properties that are on the opposite end of the spectrum. They've got some warts, and they need to be more flexible with incentivizing the market in any way, shape, and form to bring in offers. So it's always going to be the ends of the spectrum, but in that middle portion, I do expect things to function pretty much as usual. We'll see. I'll let you know if any changes. Also, interesting stat that I came across this week: 52% of active listings in San Diego have been on the market for more than 30 days. So again, talked about the interest rates being up, demand being flat, being suppressed with the interest rates up, but the inventory piling up. This is what we're seeing as a result. We're seeing long market times. Now, like my listing that I just put on, the best listings are still getting multiple offers. But 52%, 30 days or longer. Another 28% have been on the market for more than 60 days. And guys, that's where, if you're a buyer in the market and you're looking for a good deal, that is where to find the opportunities. Some of those sellers are just going to be unrealistic about price, okay? But the others are going to be the ones that are motivated and realizing that the market is giving them feedback that their product, their price is not good enough, and they're going to be the ones that are willing to negotiate. And that is where you're going to find your best deals. So look, I love looking at when someone really wants a good deal. Let's look at the market time. Let's just search for properties that have been on the market for more than 30 days, more than 60 days. So that is really good. The low point for the time on market this year was back in February, is at 43 days. And currently the expected market time being put the for sale sign in, put the lockbox on when you're closing the sale, 73 days. So 43 days to 73 days. This time last year was at 45 days. So it is up quite a bit. Active inventory is at its highest level, 4,570 homes. That's since August 2022. Last year it was 43% lower. We had 2,621 homes for sale this time last year. And again, 4,750 now. That's still, again, 36% lower than the 3-year pre-COVID average. So we're still, historically speaking, low, but getting better. Now, meanwhile, demand is 8% higher this time of year than last year. But obviously that's not keeping pace with the inventory, but we're going to see inventory peak, demand increasing out of season. Look for the active inventory to start declining at this point into the end of the year. And we're probably not going to start January 25 off with a ton of homes for sale. This might be the best window to buy that we're going to see in the next 6 to 8 months, with rates having gone down and still having some good inventory numbers. So going back to what we first talked about, if rates go down even further, mortgage rates go down even further, look for that demand to increase even further. And just as another note, there's a little bit of a lag on that, as buyers are going to say, okay, well, down to 6.5%, are they going to go any lower? And that's a possibility. But you do want to beat that little surge. So just a little food for thought if you are kind of right in that active buying window. Also, some local news, sad news. The OB Pier, Ocean Beach Pier, is not going to be reopening. The engineering reports determined that it was going to be too costly to just get the pier reopened, while the new design is being finalized and planned. So looks like we're not going to have a pier in OB until the new one is built. I don't know when that's going to be at this point, but I will let you know when I hear something. So that's what I have for you this week. If you do have any questions, if you need to buy or sell in San Diego, or just have some general questions, please feel free to reach out. Doesn't matter if you're looking to do something like right now, the next 9 days, or if you're going to do something in 9 months. I always love to hear from you. And along those lines, please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and let me know what you think, how you're doing, what questions you have. And until next time, be well. We'll talk to you soon.